One of his good mates, his nickname was Noggin. He's a builder, and they reckon it was because he thought he was the next best thing to a stud. So I think he'd self-nicknamed himself.
My dream is to improve the residential building industry for all involved. Throughout this podcast, we're going to be chatting to all types of industry experts to make sure that builders, tradies and clients all have a fantastic experience. G'day guys, welcome back to another episode of Level Up. We're back in the shed today, and as usual, the whole purpose of this podcast is to level up the industry. So get builders and tradies running better businesses and get homeowners having a great experience. So got a pretty exciting guest here today because a couple of months ago he didn't think he'd be here any longer. So we got Brett from Soldash Homes. I've known Brett now for probably 18 months or so.
Yep.
Brett got involved with a builders breakfast group that I run here in Brisbane. And we've now caught up. We do a few other things together, and he's actually just moved around the corner, which has been great. So welcome, mate. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us. Yeah, excited to be here.
It's I was pretty keen to get Brett on because Brett and I had a conversation over a few beers actually just before Christmas, where he was actually telling me that he was out. He didn't want to, wasn't going to be a builder anymore.
Yeah. It was. It wasn't that. I've always loved building, and I wasn't going to leave the industry completely. But I had this overwhelming feeling that it was just really hard to make a living and to earn enough to make enough out of it for our family for the risk and the reward that just didn't add up for me. And we tried for years. We've been going for nearly 7 years. We've always prided ourselves on putting clients first, but that a lot of the time meant us coming second, and some a lot of jobs got done a very good value when we were starting out. So
and it's certain like I think a lot of us do jobs that the only person that makes money is the client when they sell it.
And I just think we all just want to please everyone. Everyone wants to do a good job and the clients to be happy with them, but at the end of the day, if you can't make enough money to even keep your business running profitably and sustainably, it's not worth doing. But it's an important topic to talk about, I think, because I think like tradies are bad at it as well, but like builders, so many builders, I believe are trading insolvent, but you take the plunge, you become the builder, you're taking all the responsibility, liability for everything that happens on that site. And yet you end up in a position where you're earning the same or less than the contractors and the employees that you put in your business. Far less. Yeah, for years. And I always had this mentality that we're building the business, putting all the money into the business all the time. But it just got when we were starting out, we just didn't really know enough about the business side of it. I was a tradesman. I started when I was 16. You get into it because you want to do things with your hands. You want to build things. You don't, but the natural progression for a builder is to become a businessman, really. And it takes a lot of getting your head around that, or even just succumbing to the fact that that's the mentality you got to take.
I think that's a big thing, because every single builder I talk to, mate, is the same. And we get into it because we love working with our hands, love being outdoors. And for me anyway, and I know a lot of other guys are the same, I can't stand sitting in a classroom or sitting in an office.
Yeah, I was the same at the start, and it's been a blessing moving out here a little bit further away from where we work, because it sort of forces me not to just duck to jobs.
Yeah.
When we're over in Bayside, all our work's in the Bayside, I'd be never in the office, and it's so unproductive. What I've noticed since we've been out here and spending full days and multiple days in the office, I've got so much time.
Yeah.
We put a lot of work in to getting the group on site really productive and to a stage where I was comfortable leaving them. But once that happened, it's just been an eye opener.
So mate, tell us, because everyone's probably wondering, like what like it's a dramatic change, like going from literally 3 months ago having a conversation about you actually had a plan to wrap your work up over the next 18 months.
That's right,
and get out of it, and now to be in a position where you're like, let's just go.
I'm excited about it again for the first time in years, and where it all came. It was a lot of things had to happen at once for that shift to change. But first, we've always been trying to work on things to make the business better, or to do things better, and we've always been trying to do that. But I've never really had the time to implement the stuff. And until the site stuff, and we got the right group of guys on site that are working really well, that I really feel comfortable leaving them there. and like they're actually excelling far more than when I micromanaged it. Like their jobs are going so much better. And
I think that's just a builder's thing, isn't it?
it
Like
is,
builders
yeah.
just micromanage.
But we've got so much responsibility.
Yeah.
Like, how do you let go of some of that stuff? Like,
Yeah.
I've only just outsourced waterproofing. I've done that myself. I didn't even let the guys do the waterproofing
Yeah.
in all our jobs. So now that we've got our waterproofing guy that does a great job and we trust, and I can see how professionally it works,
Yeah.
that's you can let go of some of that responsibility a little bit. But the change, it all sort of happened when I started looking into and understanding the numbers of the business, and it did start when I signed up to the Live Life Build Elevate, and how you guys had explained it so easy, so well laid out. It made it really easy to understand. Like, I've tried to go through this with our accountants over the years, and
Yeah.
it still seemed too complicated, too hard.
Yeah.
But once and probably
I think the important, sorry to cut you off there, but
Yeah.
I think the important part of that, because I used to get in the same situation, and it used to overwhelm me, and then I'd dig my head in the sand and
so you
would
don't want to know about it.
yeah, go back down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important for builders and tradies to know, like, we're not taught to understand that. So don't feel bad if you don't.
No.
I think the thing is looking around and finding ways that explain it enough that you do understand it. Because once you understand your numbers, it
was
just
like
gives
a
you
light bulb.
confidence.
It was not like a light bulb. It was more like an old fluoro for me. It took a bit of flickering until it got going. But once I did, you get your head around it, and it just comes to a stage where you just go, I understand it. And my whole mentality's changed. And the way that every decision I make in the business now is just completely different. Whereas before, if we were behind and I felt like we were behind on a job, my mentality is just to work harder, just work Saturdays, work harder.
Yeah.
And it's like that quicksand analogy. You're just going backwards.
It's
You've
that
gotta-
old thing, eh? Like you're so stuck in the business.
Yep.
It's like you got blinkers on. Like people are telling you should do this, you should do that, you need to do that, and like you say, you think that just working more hours is going to get more cash in the bank, and that's going to solve the issues.
Yeah, but it's just a it's nearly a short-term band-aid, I suppose. It makes you feel like you're doing the right thing, but until you pare back, and when we went right back and went from the start, the whole thing just analysed what allowed us to do it a little bit was finally getting a few years of data on jobs that we've actually done, and knowing.
Yeah.
It was really hard to work this stuff out. You can do the business side of things, your fixed cost side of things, pretty much without actual data, but the project side of things was what really took a long time for me to get accurate feedback on.
And I think it's another big part of it. Like for all the young guys out there that are doing their trade or even possibly going through their builder's license at the moment, like every builder I speak to, like, to be honest, if it had been harder to get our license, we probably wouldn't have got it.
It was too easy.
Or it would have taken a lot longer. But it is far too easy. Like when you consider, like knowing what I know now, like given how much responsibility and liability we have and the amount of finances we have to deal with, there really needs to be more in place to get before you're allowed to go out. Like you can basically get your builder's license and go out and sign $1 million contract. And
I was just having this conversation with Dave, our supervisor today, and that's literally what the amount of responsibility that gets put on and some of these guys. Well, I was young when I started too. I must have only been about 25 or 26 when we started.
Yeah.
Thought you knew everything, and sort of the things that you're taught through the Cert 4 that I done were just really just touch the surface of what you need to know.
And you don't like what I was getting at before there, and we got a bit off track. Is like when you're getting your builder's license, like they do touch on a lot of things, but it's in nowhere near the scale that you need to actually go and start running your own business. And like you were just saying there, like keeping your data and your costings, like it's been a long time since I done my builder's license, but back in the day when I did it, we basically had to work out, like do a takeoff and a quote on like this little L-shaped shed. Like, and I think when you added you did the costings, you added it all up, it come to like 60 grand or something.
Yeah.
And there was no talk of like running costs or overheads or any of that stuff. It was all focused on just seeing if you could work out the materials correctly and all those types of things.
Which is only really, it's not even half of it, I don't think. The labour component of it is the killer. And so what we tracked a couple of jobs really thoroughly with broke our cost codes down really. Like, we don't do it that far anymore because it's just too much manpower for what who
Yeah.
we've got to operate. But what we found was you allow these time, you're building, say you're framing or whatever, you're doing this stuff in your head, and you know how long it's going to take. You do a job that's on a steep side, or you've got a lot of scaff up, and you've got to get all that gear up the top of the site. No
Yeah.
one tells you to factor that stuff
Yeah.
in at the start, and
Unless you're doing the data and going
Yeah.
back.
and it became obvious how we were having overruns in carpentry, like everyone did, and then we separated like time on site for like carting stuff. So if someone was it was a bit of a pain for the guys because they were constantly having to change cost codes and things,
Yeah.
but it was the only way that we could get an accurate idea of how long these things took.
Yeah.
And since we've done that, that's been the game changer. Our jobs are coming in. We've usually got a little bit of allowance in framing and carpentry, or
Yeah.
we know we can pick some up off one area if it's going to go over somewhere else. And
Yeah.
but until you have that live real data out of your own business, you can't get it from anyone else because it's got to work for your own team.
And it's all there. Like building businesses have incredible amount of data and just
We waste a lot of it.
Yeah. And
We don't capture a lot of it.
Yeah, and it's not. And I know carpentry is a big one. Like that used to frustrate the hell out of me. Like coming from running a really large contract carpentry business, and then starting to build, and like you said, like every single job we would go over. Like some jobs we would go over like double what we had, and I used to pull my hair out. I used to go on site, jump and scream and yell, but at the end of the day, that was never going to fix anything. Like until I actually knuckled down, started tracking the data, and like you said, like made my boys start allocating their time to particular items.
Yep.
Mate, it was a no-brainer. Like once you started looking back at that data, and like for me, it was so much of the small things, like you said, like even just like helping other trades on site, unloading and loading gear, cleaning up.
We track site clean, so we
Yeah.
do. We make them track that now. That's its own thing in our proposal.
Yeah.
We allow and constantly tweak with it. It depends on the site. Like if you've got a difficult site where everything's got to be carted by hand, it's going to be a lot more.
Yeah.
And that's where the whole square meterage rate thing just goes clean out the window, doesn't it? Like it's just
Oh, mate,
it's
square
just
meterage rates should be out the window. Like, they don't help anyone.
No,
It's all like, and like knowing what I know now, and I guess doing everything I'm doing in the industry, and listening to lots of builders and constantly improving my own business. Like there's two very different models. Like I think the square meterage rate actually does work for the volume builders.
has its place for the simple jobs, doesn't it?
Yeah, and like you can see why. Like they have in their clauses, mate. Like if your block's got over more than 500 mil of fall, like they don't want to know about it. So everything is so simple. It's all like they build the same home.
If it's repetitive, you can do it that way. And some parts of our jobs you can do it that way. Once you get to certain elements of your job, sure, you do things on square meterage, but definitely not
Not
the
a complete
structure
build.
of it. Nah, definitely
like I think people like homeowners sometimes look at me a bit weird when I say them. Like we've nearly, I think we're up to around the 170, 180 odd projects now, and I've never ever built the same thing twice.
No, you wouldn't, would you? That's
Like,
right.
Probably the only thing that we do that is repetitive is like your internal fit out. Like once you get to your internal fit out, like
They're
hanging
similar.
doors, architraves,
Yeah.
all those things are pretty straightforward.
Yeah, but there could be a different profile of architrave. You could have a really detailed skirt and architrave, you could plinth blocks, all that stuff.
yeah,
We do a lot of Queenslander renovations, and there's nothing simple about the fit off of them. As you know, they're so time consuming.
yeah, a lot of timber
A
work.
lot of timbers. Every room's got your skirting, your belt rail, picture rail, corner. So you're going around it 4 times instead of maybe a skirt. So it's just so labour intensive. But we love that sort of work, and our guys thrive on it. They absolutely love it. But every job has just got to be treated on its merit, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's it's important for homeowners, I think, to know that. And again, this all comes back to why I'm a really big fan and believer now. Like no homeowner should be signing a contract based on a figure on a piece of paper. Like there's got to be a relationship there. There's got to be communication. But I think probably the most important one, and like like everyone knows, we do the PAC process. It's the information that you pick up from initial inquiry through to contract that actually makes the biggest difference to your job.
But you can only do that spending time with the client and the building designer or architect. You can't do that from the office or just from reviewing documentation. You've got to spend time together to do it.
Yeah, and 100%. If you don't know all those conversations that have been had and what's going on at design meetings and Because some of the stuff that I've really learned is there is so much like, and I love it. Like I'm getting more and more passionate about all the design. Like I'm enjoying knowing why they place windows where they go, orientation, like learning. I'm sort of really trying to get more involved in the sustainable sort of side of things now. And without being involved in that design stage, I can't really get my head around or learn more about that. And the only way you can price a job accurately is knowing all those types of things that have been discussed.
Yeah, you've got to understand it all from the get-go, don't you?
Yeah.
Be involved in them conversations.
Yeah, and it's and like you said, like even just like you do a lot of Queenslanders, like there's a huge amount of different labour, materials, products, like so much involved than doing the same size project in a rendered brick house.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's chalk and cheese.
We did do a brick extension for a client just not long ago who she wanted to go with us right or wrong, and it was great. She was a great client, great job. I forgot how easy the brick houses were and how little there was for us to do.
Yeah.
To be honest, after doing all, they had aluminium windows, brick house, aluminium windows, plaster internals.
Yeah.
Simple, like so simple, and it was a breeze. And
set
it was
your
really
windows out for brickwork and you're done.
Yeah, well, that's something our guys had never done. So I thought that was something that we used to do a lot in Tassie, a lot of brick houses in Tassie, and you'd set out for windows, for your windows with your bricks, and that was something they got to learn there. So
I don't think a lot of people would even know that, mate. Like well, back when I did my time, and even now, like it's all face brickwork, but like you see these. Like every house now is rendered brickwork. They don't give a shit about where the windows are placed out. So the poor brickies out there cutting bloody every second brick.
Yeah, no, we never got away with that with our brickies in Tassie. They'd be up you if you didn't have your windows right. Yeah.
So mate, tell us tell us how you got into this. So you're from Tassie.
Yes. So originally from Victoria. I was born in Victoria. We moved over to Tassie when I was about 13. One of the reasons. So parents had split up at that time, and Mum went back to Tassie, and Dad was in Victoria still. I stayed with him. One of his good mates, his nickname was Noggin. He's a builder, and they reckon it was because he thought he was the next best thing to a stud. So I think he'd self-nicknamed himself. But yeah, Noggin said to me, because I was always hanging at the footy club, and I was always hanging around them guys, all the trades. I just sort of gravitated to them sort of guys.
Yeah.
And Noggs built a house just up the road from us, so I was down there every day after school, just probably been a pain in the ass. But he told me one day, he said, and Mum had already moved back to Tassie, and he could see how the industry was going in Victoria, how it was being really segmented up, and you get a lot of carpenters or chippies were just doing framing, or they was doing fit out or fix out, whatever. And he said, if you get the chance, you should go and do, because I knew I was going to be I wanted to be a carpenter, I wanted to be a builder. He said, go and move over with Mum and do it over there. They still build the old school way from start to finish. So that was pretty much it. I think I'd done year 7 in Victoria. Wasn't kicking any girls at school, so I was on the boat and over to Tassie, and I pretty much just set about finishing school off. But I used to build skate ramps and bike ramps, stuff like that, just in all my spare time. I was always building something.
Yeah.
And ended up starting an apprenticeship. I got it straight out of year 10, so I knew I wasn't going to benefit too much more from school. I knew I was going to do anyway.
Yeah.
In hindsight, I probably would have done year 11 and 12, but straight into it with a good local builder, Keith. He's actually from Queensland as well, and he was awesome. It was just me and him, another couple of tradies sort of through the time as well, and then finished my time with Keith. He had to have an operation on his wrist, so he had 12 months off, and I went with a mate that I played footy with, who's been pestering me for ages to jump ship, but I wouldn't do it because I'd had a few operations and things through footy through my apprenticeship, and Keith really looked after me through that. So I was adamant I wanted to give him a couple of years. But once he needed to have a break, so I went the separate way. I went with Kent, and that's probably where I think that was where I learnt the most. You learn. I think it's really important to learn off a couple of people.
Mm.
You learn.
Everyone does things differently, eh?
Yeah, so much so, and I really. You're a bit more mature by the time you finish your apprenticeship. You've got an understanding, nowhere near knowing enough yet, but once you go with someone else, you get to develop. You learn a couple of different ways, and you get to develop the best way it works for you. And in Tassie, getting to do the jobs from start to finish, we'd set out right through to we do roofing, tiling, everything, and we wouldn't plaster or anything like that much, but you just had you learnt a really good understanding of how a house is built from start to finish.
Yeah,
and that's dying art. That's
Mate,
just nearly gone, and it's a bit sad, really. But we put a big massive emphasis on it in our business to teach them that.
Yeah, I think it's super important, mate. I tell my young guys all the time, like, whether you and even when we're interviewing new kids, like, if you need to appreciate if you get the opportunity to work with a builder that still actually builds.
Yeah.
And when I say that, like, you do your set out, you do your footing, do your slab. Like, if you go and work for a builder that just gets subcontractors in to do everything, you'll end up just being a carpenter.
Yeah, you get really efficient at one thing, and you don't know nothing about.
Yeah, I think it's really
the flow-on
horrible.
effects.
Look, obviously everything's driven by dollars and industry and things. Like, I do think it's a shame that most apprenticeships now, like carpentry, is broken up into framing, cladding. So you can get a carpenter that's done their whole, they're qualified carpenter, yet they've only ever done framing, or they've only ever done fit
I
outs.
think you can get the same qualification at truss plant.
Yeah.
So
and even plastering, like, you get sheeters and setters.
Yeah,
and,
that's
like,
something that was new to me in Queensland, actually. The hangers and setters being different crews, but so that just wouldn't fly. How we've done things, they all have their own way of doing things, and the old plasterers we worked with, they would never let someone else hang the sheets for them.
No way. Like, well, and like, even I like, especially with the carpentry side of it, I think that leaves lots of room for errors. Like, if you are a carpenter that knows the whole thing, like, you know what cladding's going on the job, so you can set out your studs and you can make sure there's nogs in place, and like, just all the little things that even fit out. Like, if you like, I'm pretty big on always talking to the guys about what's further down the track. So, and like, getting them to read documents and things. Like, if you got a higher skirting or putting extra noggins in, or you got a thicker floor that's going to come up over your bottom plate, like, just all the old tricks of the trade that I'm really grateful that I was taught by an old timer. And I had three guys. Like, so I had an older guy and his brother, and they both did things very differently. And then I did my last year with another builder. So, like, I think it is very important to get different experiences, different opinions.
100%.
Because it's like the old saying, like, there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, and you get the same result. So then, like, you finished your time over there, did you start your business over there?
No. So I just worked full time for Kent and Kent and Keith down there. We decided to move away from Tassie. We had a house down there. We'd fully renovated. I'd built Mum a house, renovated Tanae's parents' houses, and it was just all happening for love. And that, along with the freezing cold down there, I remember sitting at Lad Smoker one day, and we'd been thinking about moving over the mainland one day. I got a bit of family in Victoria still, and we didn't really know where we were going to go. We just wanted to have a change, and we were at a good time where we could. For me to go any further with building down there, I would have had to go out in the same small town as Bish, and I just wasn't going to do it. We're just really good mates, and I just wouldn't have done it.
So were you sitting there with, like, 3 loads of pants on?
And some I had thermals. I remember the day, and in the morning I jumped on the aluminium, just on the trestles and planks, and the rubbers had frozen. Shot straight off, and I landed on my ass, and I was already in the shits a bit, and I was sitting in a smoker, and I jumped on, and I just booked a boat for 21st of August. And I sent Tanae a message, we've got 3 months.
We're out of here.
We're out of here. We bought a little caravan, like a Viscount, the old Viscount pop tops, a retro one, and I decked that out, and we sold everything up. Sold the house. We rented the house for 12 months, but sold everything up, and just got on the boat. And we had about a week in Victoria with seeing some of Dad's family, and then we didn't know which way we were going, left or right. And I was wanting to go Western Australia way. Tanae wasn't, so we didn't. We were right. And but in hindsight, it was a good move, because it's a lot harder to get back to Tasmania for funerals and weddings and things like that from Western Australia. But so we took about 8 weeks. We travelled up. We went up. We had to go up through the centre. We had to see someone in Goulburn, and then we went back to the coast. From there, and we travelled the coast. We never drove more than 200 k's in a go without camping for 2 or 3 days. Just had the best break. It was nearly 8 weeks, and it was the first break longer than probably a week or maybe 2 weeks that I've ever had in my working life. And I've got to say, before I left Tassie, I wasn't concerned if I come up here building either. I was just coming with I'll do whatever.
So did you have your builder's license at this stage?
No. No, just carpentry, just your carpentry ticket. Yeah,
Yeah.
Cert 3. No, I come up here. We ended up. So Tanae's auntie and uncle live in Manly, so we stayed with them for a week, and we fell in love with Wynnum and the Bayside area there, and so we just got a house, and we were there for about 6 years.
Yeah, right. And that's
Just like
where it's all happened, eh? So you've only got your license since you've been in Queensland.
Yep. So it all come about by needing my trade contractor's license to subby up here, and then I hadn't been back to school in the classroom since school,
Yeah.
and I actually really enjoyed it because you were learning about something that you were really interested in. It wasn't like you were there as a punish; it was like you
Yeah.
were there genuinely interested in it.
Yeah.
And so I just decided to do the cert. I didn't know a lot of people up here at the time either at that stage, so I just thought I'll do the cert 4, and loved it. And then sort of through the golf club and the footy club, once people know you're a carpenter,
Yeah.
they come from every angle, and I was always turning them away. No, I'm not doing none of that sort of stuff, just working. And in the end, I said to Nate, I reckon there's enough work here just to have a
Settle
go at
down.
it.
So
Yeah.
how did you do your license? Did you do it through association?
HIA. Yep, HIA. So it was it would have been about 8 months, I reckon. We were away in Tassie for a couple of modules, so I had to skip and jump back in. But it would have been about 8 or 9 months. And at the time, I thought it was really good. I thought it was quite thorough because a lot of this stuff was new to me. But at the same time, I was working with some guys who were doing it with another training organisation, which was a bit of a sped up thing. And I found I was helping them every smoko with their stuff because they were just getting brushed through this stuff. And gee, I think now looking back, I think I didn't know enough before I started. I feel sorry for them blokes who rushed through some of them shorter courses.
It's something that, like, I don't know. Like, obviously, a huge part of what Amelia and I are doing with Live Like Build is helping builders get their passion back. Like, I don't want anyone that's thinking about or got their builder's license to go through some of the shit that I had to go through. Like, and so a lot of what we do with Live Like Build, and like as you're aware now, like just having my experiences and what I've been through and what I've been able to develop in my business, but then having Amelia's side of that, which is 7-8 years of undercover architect and all the personal stories and information that her clients are giving her, and having all that ammunition about what clients are scared of, what they want, what they're looking for in a builder, like all these types of things, and combining that. But like our goal is to keep it simple and in a way that like builders aren't scared of, really. Like we don't want them to freak out, and because I know that's what really held me back for a long time. Like I think I'd put my head in the sand and sort of blame that I wasn't educated enough, or I didn't like the classroom, or I didn't like computers. And
I think what it was for me, why it took so long to actually nearly fully commit to learn all that stuff, is it's so overwhelming at the start because you're doing so many things below the par that you want to be doing.
Yeah.
There's and for certain things to happen, you need other things to happen at the same time. And at the start, like we've been through other like builders coaches and stuff in the past, and it's just overwhelming. It's too overwhelming.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm not too sure where the switch came with it. Just become with experience or a bit of more maturity. It definitely come. A big part of it was the site stuff really taken off and taken its own. Not needing me as much. That was probably the biggest thing I noticed to allow me to feel like I had the time and the capacity to really delve into it properly.
Yeah.
But since I have, like as you know now, like,
oh mate, you're on fire. You're
just
a machine.
I've been loving it. I'm up at 4. I was up at 2:30 the other day, and I was like, I was just laid in bed, and I was like, I'm wide awake.
I'm gonna go.
So I just went and done a few modules of Elevate, and I was like, but it just by doing that stuff in the morning, it puts me in the right mindset. It gets you in that business head mentality, opposed to just the more the tradie side of being a builder. I think the days of being a builder all day on site and running the business,
they're gone, mate.
I don't know. I feel for the guys that do it. They must do some massive hours, and I know we done it for a long time. But,
it's a very big, like that small, either like you're the builder on site with the trailer and the bag on, and you got a offsite or an apprentice, and you're still swinging the hammer all day and checking everything, doing everything yourself. Like the step from that to growing and having a good enough and a big enough team that allows you to step back and do a little bit of the admin side is like it's almost the biggest part to overcome because there's a lot involved. Like you've really got to have a great team that you can trust.
Yep.
Because again, like your name's on everything. My big thing there was, again, I used to blame that I just wasn't educated enough to sit in the office and understand all that. But I think I've learnt now, like there's no excuses. Like you just got to own things. Like at the end of the day, if you want to be a builder, you want to be a tradie, you want to run a business, you've got to do something about it. And there's whether it's mentoring, coaching, like there's so much stuff on social media now that you can get out there and sort of have a dig around and see what's available. But I think there's got to be a happy medium there. But I really think the core root of all this is our industry is driven by everybody outside of a builder's business telling builders what they can charge.
And how they should do things, yeah.
And then, so builders are always chasing their tail. Like I'm so like wanting to just smash this myth because it really shits me. Like people have this theory that builders just make huge amounts of money.
Yeah.
And yet they have absolutely no idea. Like I like people have their own opinions on this, and some will agree, some won't, some whatever. But I almost think we're like two businesses. I think we have more overheads than what any other business has. Like you have to actually have everything in place to control what happens on a job site.
Yeah.
But you also have to have all this over here and control what happens in an office.
Just to enable you to even start a job.
Yeah.
It all really has to be there and set up and functioning properly for you to even operate, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's the same for tradies or builders. So it doesn't, like tradies are just probably on a little bit smaller scale.
Yeah, not overseen. Yeah, as many trades. They've been the principal contractor. It is just on steroids compared to.
Yeah, and they like it's just so, and it's so easy to get into trouble. We spoke about it before we started here today, but like you've got designers, architects, clients, media. You got all these people pushing this price competitive environment, which is just making everyone, like even builders. And I got stuck in this for such a long time. Like you get in your head that's how it rolls. You've got to compete on price.
Yeah.
And then you get stuck in this mindset, well, how can they be like, how come I'm expensive? Like, what am I doing wrong? Am I too slow? Is my team not good enough? Like, am I not, like, are my overheads too high? Like, what am I doing? And like, I look back now and I used to have that mindset and get in those scenarios and I wasn't making money and I was still getting told I was too expensive.
Yeah.
And I look back now and think, holy shit, like what was the bloke doing that was 200 grand cheaper than me? Because
I
was going backwards with the price that I put in.
Yeah. Yeah, we had the same thing. Well, we had it for years, and me and Tanae used to have mega, not arguments. I always thought I was doing something wrong. Like we're wasting too much time on this, or our prices aren't good enough from suppliers or trades. We spent probably 2 or 3 years getting all that stuff down, and I know them prices were spot on because we've compared with other people in the industry. It was my estimating really.
Yeah.
It was when you estimate when you quote, especially early on, you do it like you think how we would do it, like ourselves. If I'm building, I know how long it takes me to do something, but it's generally not. I've also had hours over the plans in the quoting stage or in the design stage as well. I know a lot of it, how it's going to go before it even gets to site.
Yeah.
The guys see it for the first time on site, and it took me a long time to understand that.
Yeah.
I done a little experiment. I took on a job, a granny flat on Coochie-Mudlow Island, and this was the crunch. I said to Tanae, look, I'm going to go and do this all by myself with one other guy, and see if my allowances are right. And I was pretty close, but it was because I'd done it, and that was the realization. No one's ever going to work as efficient or know as much about the job as us because we've done so much time in the.
Exactly like you just said. Like we've by the time it gets to contract, we've built the house 50
multiple
times in our head.
Yeah, and in different ways. That's 100% right. So that's something that we've started doing now with our preliminary inspections. I'm taking Dave, our supervisor, to them with us, and this was something that I got from you. And you mentioned that you and Todd do it, and I thought that's genius because you get to look at the plans so much earlier. He gets to see the job. We do we pretty much document everything that's on the existing house.
Yeah.
And we just done 2 this afternoon, and you can tell he's just he's pumped to be a part of it. but I can see how easy it's going to make his job once he gets to site.
Yeah.
And I need to be able to allow him to give him the information he needs, but give him the time he needs with plans and looking over the job as well, to run it on site a little bit more like I would.
But again, that like doing those, like we do the pre-starts, like get them in. It might be a month before or a
Yep.
week before, whatever, and like we're using Slack now for everything. Like it's just the boys have got access to everything before the site starts. But again, what you're just talking about comes back to cost, because you're now doing a service where you can charge a fee for all that preliminary work.
Yep.
So you're covering the cost. Well, you're probably not even covering the costs.
Not covering it goes a little way to it though.
But you've got
It's-
something in the bank to
Yeah.
be able to have Dave off that job, come with you.
It's more the commitment from the clients that gives you the confidence to do that and
Yeah.
invest that time. You know you're taking him off a job where you say it's not going to be, he becomes non-billable hours. He becomes
Yeah.
a business expense.
Yeah.
But I think it's just going to far outweigh
Yeah.
any costs whatsoever once
Yeah.
we get on site. We do that for we usually take an hour per job. They're on site for 6 to 9 months.
Yeah.
Go figure, it's going to save us a fortune.
Yeah,
so.
man, it's just, and I like clients get such a better outcome. Like there's so much goes on for our industry that's just bagging builders out, and again, like I don't know, I have so many theories on it. Like I think the one that I keep going down the rabbit hole with is like people, like say a job's 500 grand, like even our contracts and stuff that we use, like throw this percentage around, like 10%,
10,
like if
15,
nothing
yeah.
stated, 10%, or some of them have gone up to now 15%.
Yep.
And like doing all the stuff in the industry now, surveys, studies, everything we've done, like I can sit here and honestly say to the world, whoever's watching, that the average family-run custom building business needs to have somewhere between 14 and 18%. A smaller business might even need as high as 22 or 24%
Yep.
running cost.
Just for their overheads, yeah.
That is just to cover.
Before you make anything, yeah.
Yeah, that's just covering your insurances, your fuel, your taxes, salaries, super. Like there's so much in there that people and I got caught in that trap. Like for so long, like I used to think I was making a fortune. Like in my early days, like in the first 3 years of a business, like we went straight up to like $8 million turnover,
Yeah.
and I thought 10% of $8 million, like I'm rolling in it. Like what can I buy?
Yeah.
But then the accountant, everybody's telling me, mate, you need to put more on jobs. And I'm like, I've got heaps in these jobs. Like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about?
Yeah, that was something that we were taught in HIA as well with the Cert 4 was, your markup was 15%.
Yeah.
That was your markup.
And so clients assume that, say a job's 500,000, the builder's making 50 grand.
Yeah.
And yet it's that 50 grand is going to be chewed up just to run the project that you're building for the client.
Yeah, and that's if it goes to plan. Things go over or there's
Yeah.
extensions and things, and you're chewing into that as well.
Yeah, we've actually been doing an exercise at the moment because all this stuff I'm doing, it's all to educate the industry and get people understanding how to and what it takes to run better businesses. And we got a video we're going to do shortly, but we've just done a full review of all their insurances. And look, I don't class myself as a big business. Like I would say we're an average type business, but for all of our public liabilities, our construction insurances, our work cover, insurance on our work vehicles. So this isn't including any home insurance or personal insurance or anything.
Just business related.
$97,643 a year. So I doubt there's many builders out there that have even sat down and done their figures and added up all their insurances. But like when like people are going to hear that and go, what the hell? Like bullshit.
And we have to have them all. You can't not. Some of them are enforced. A lot of them you'd be mad not to have.
Yeah. And again, we're going to do a detailed video on this, but nearly 67,000 of that is work cover.
Yeah.
And like people out there, like this is one thing that really does piss me off. Like people out there, I don't know, take advantage of the situation and things and falsify injuries and try and make claims and all this shit. Like
Milk it a little bit.
work cover for a business owner, and this isn't just builders, I guess, but work cover is calculated on a percentage of the salary that you pay people,
Yep.
like so employees and stuff. So there's no way around it. Like if you employ a certain amount of people and you pay a certain amount of salary, you got to pay a certain amount of insurance. And
Yep.
I think just those, like educating the public on those types of things, yeah, I'm hoping will make people understand that like builders deserve to make a good living
Yep.
because we have so much risk. Like we actually have to earn a huge, like I think that one of the hard things for clients as well is they only look at the costs involved to build their finished product.
Yep.
Like they have no idea of what's actually off-site, like that it's taking to manage and run and
Yep.
administrate what that house that they're building
No,
costs.
well, they don't see it. They wouldn't have a way of knowing without people like yourself trying to educate. And it's up to everyone's builder to educate them on that stuff.
Yeah,
We're really open with our clients about how we operate our business, how we're constantly growing, trying to improve and try and get better at all these things. And the general consensus is they love it. They love that
Yeah.
there's someone in that cares about it that much, that and we're open enough to talk to them about it. It gives them a really good understanding of what appreciation of what we've actually got to
Yeah.
do just to build their house.
yeah.
You,
Made all these stories on the media and 60 Minutes and bloody A Current Affair and all this shit. Like, there's one way to solve all that, and that's stop choosing builders and tradies based on a bottom
price.
line.
Yeah.
If you want to choose a builder based on the lowest price, you deserve to have all the problems that you get.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty simple, I reckon.
It's just such a hard thing to, especially people that haven't built before. It's a little bit easier when you, and that's one of our inquiry questions actually, if they have built before. But you can't, once it's too late, it's too late. Once you don't get the job and they go to the cheaper builder, it's too late for them. You can't
Yeah.
help them anymore.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's hard, and because we're sitting here knowing exactly what they're going to go through. And
Yeah.
to us, it's plain as day, but they're just oblivious. They're just seeing the price. They've seen some plans.
Yeah.
Happy days. But
We don't get
God.
involved in tendering anymore, but like back in the day, it really used to eat me up, like getting told that I was too expensive and stuff. And like I said, this was when I actually wasn't running a good business, and I was still getting told I was too expensive
and
and
you're probably missing a lot of stuff. Yeah.
missing a lot of stuff. And like we had lots of work in the same area, so like in my travels, I'd drive past homes that I missed, and like every one that I missed, I'd get feedback from one of my trades because they might have worked on it, or another builder I knew. I'd run into it at hardware and he'd say, "Hey, do you quote this job?" Like, "Oh fuck, I wish I hadn't have got this job." Or it'd be sitting there with 6 foot high grass and
Yeah.
because the builder's gone
Gone
broke.
broke.
Like,
Yeah.
my best one, we missed out on this big job at Tenerife. It was a multi-million-dollar home, and there was, I think, we actually pulled out of the project in the end because we ended up finding out. Like, I think this is the other thing. Like, a lot of people don't realise how small things are, and people talk to each other and reps and suppliers and things. And like we were told we're only one of 3 builders pricing this job, and in the end, it turned out the architect had sent it out to 11 builders. And the day that I found that out, we were the only one that the homeowner had come to.
Yeah.
And I rang the owner straight up and said, "Hey, mate, look, I know you want us to do your job, but I'm out." And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, "Oh, I've heard a few things going on, and there's too many builders pricing your home that I'm just not interested." And he was fuming. Like when I said, "Look, I've heard there's 11 builders," he went off his nut. And anyway, then I get a call from the architect, and the architect's giving it to me, like asking me, "What are you pulling out for? Like you've said you're going to price this job." And like there's so much shit that goes on in our industry that people don't know about. But that job, I ended up knowing 3 of the other builders quite well. And when we all found out that we were all pricing it, and we rang up and compared like what our pricing was, I forget what it was. Like the total job cost was about 3.7 million or something, and the 4 of us were within like $70,000.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
And we're like, what? Like, anyway, long story. The builder that they ended up signing a contract with was like 2.2, and it didn't matter how. Like because I actually met the client through a client we'd previously done a job for,
Yep.
and I ended up ringing him up and just saying, "Look, I'm not crying because I missed out on the job or whatever, but I'd like you to warn such and such. Like it's going to end in disaster. Like there physically cannot be. Like, do you honestly think that I'm making $1.5 million
Yeah.
out of that job?" And
They couldn't have been covering materials.
Well, long story, mate, but that job basically went through 4 builders. And in the end, from what I heard back through the grapevine, it ended up costing nearly, or just under $5 million. By the time multiple builders went bankrupt, they had to redo things. Like, it was an
Plus the
absolute
heartache.
nightmare.
Plus the heartache of that's a roller coaster and a half, isn't it?
Well,
Going through
and it
that.
went on for nearly 4 years.
Yeah, so they've got living expenses somewhere else and everything. It's
Yeah.
that them sort of things are what they just kill the industry, kill the reputation of builders, and it's through people just not understanding their business and running a
Yeah.
business that they.
But I guess we
Yeah.
can't, like the other side of this is, and what I've come to terms with is like we can't blame the architects, designers and homeowners because
No.
if I would be the same, like if I was put in a situation where I put something out for 3 prices and one of them was higher or one of them was quite lower, like how are they to know?
Yeah, well, that's really
What-
architects' job to compare apples with apples, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're the advocate for the client, but it is hard. The thing that frustrates me with that whole concept is how many people's time gets wasted, and we spoke about before. It's not just the builders; they're sending it to all their trades, their suppliers. They're all wasting money on it.
Yeah.
Are
Well, mate,
wasting time
everyone's
and money on
paying
it.
for it. Like,
But that drives everyone's cost up. So
Yeah.
if a supplier's spending however many $100,000 a year in pricing and tendering jobs that they're not winning,
Yeah.
them people in that business have got to still be paid.
Yeah.
So it's going to be reflected in costs that on flow through
Yeah.
their business where they do make their money. So
Yeah.
it's not just
well, you look at some of the bigger, like one of the hardwares that both you and I use, like they spend literally hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on people's wages, outsourcing, estimators, and yet I haven't actually checked with them recently, but like only a year or so ago, their conversion rate was only about 16 or 18%.
I can remember you done a video on this.
So,
I was blown away with that. That's a lot of wasted effort, isn't it?
Yeah, it's huge, but that cost is built into everything that we're all buying.
Yep.
So like we're all paying for it in the long run.
Yeah, it has to be for them to be sustainable, doesn't it? They have to recoup that cost.
Yeah, like there's just like you look. Hopefully, well, the pack process is definitely taking charge. It's getting a lot of notice, and we've obviously got a lot of advocates now for it. Builders using it, but more so the clients that have been through the process, and it's just been fantastic. They get good value for money.
Yep.
They know what they're getting. There's no heartache. There's no current affair stories, and everyone knows what's going on.
That's the problem with a bad story travels so much further than a good story, doesn't it? And like when you have a good client, we've lucky to get along with all of our clients. We have really good relationships for a long time afterwards, but you don't get many calls from a good client.
Mate,
you know.
I look forward to the day that, and so I don't watch news media. I can't stand it. I run my own race. I keep my mind focused on what I need to focus on. But I would watch the news, mate, if I saw an ad or someone said to me, "Hey, tonight they've got this builder on there that has had a fantastic experience with his clients. Like the job's turned out perfect. It's finished on time. It was on budget."
No, there's no what is it? Look, there's no what's the word I'm looking for? It's just not going to draw a crowd, is it? Like
Yeah.
everyone wants to see chaos and
So, mate,
bad stories. It sucks.
Like, to continue on this sort of topic, because we get a lot of people that are thinking about building or renovating that watch this or listen to this. So, like, what's 3 things that if you meet someone or you get a new inquiry or someone out there sitting on the fence, not quite sure if they want to do it,
Yeah.
what's 3 things you would give them?
The first thing would be I'd probably don't just go straight to Google for your looking for a builder. You probably want to research it. And everyone knows people that have built. You want to probably, if you can try and find a builder through recommendations from friends that have had good experiences, I think that's the way to go. But the first step for us is, and we do our first meeting is really not much about the job at all. It's just I just want to meet them and find out what they're like. And if we're lucky, we get along with a lot of our clients, but it's so important just to. I think I know it, and I think clients know it in the first meeting whether you're going to get along.
Yeah.
And that's probably the first thing. Find a builder that you're going to work with. If they're doing the pack process, that's a bonus, but at least be doing some sort of preliminary agreement where you work through all the pre-construction documents together. That's in our business, that's been the biggest game changer.
Get them involved as early as you can.
Yeah, I would, and if you don't get them involved before a designer, at least before, around that first concept phase, before things get finalised. So if because we're big on having the clients' budgets disclosed to us, and we won't work with them unless they are honest with a budget, and then we take a lot of pride in making sure we can design something with the designer to that budget.
Yeah.
And if we can't be involved in that design phase, we can't change anything. We can't save them from anything. So that's probably the first thing. Yeah, find a builder that you trust, and then work with him instead of wasting time. Do your research in what you want as far as like design and what the sort of things you want. A lot of our designer loves a mood board, or we use like a Pinterest board.
Yeah.
And we really encourage the clients to put all their thoughts and things into that. And then at the first design meeting, we'll go through them and elaborate on what parts of these photos or whatever that they really are attracted to, and we design around that. Third thing, probably be patient with the process of pricing. We price our first preliminary design. We'll price that pretty thoroughly, and then we make decisions from there once they've got some informed information about the design.
Yeah,
I feel
a bit
like
more of a spec on.
Yeah, we
stuff.
do our own scope of works that we sort of probably refine more and more as we get through the design layers. But be patient in that time. Put the effort into the design. So many people that we come to us want to start next month, and they want Christmas. Don't tell your builder you want to start before Christmas or be done by Christmas. Like, let the build take its time, especially in the design phase. Let it take its time to thrash out all the important things, and make sure you get the right design and things are priced accurately, and you put the effort into that.
Yeah, a good design changes your life, I think. And like you're right, so many people. But again, a lot of it comes down to education. Like, people don't know the process and how long things take.
Yeah, and people have got different drivers between around time frames and why they need to get things done in a certain time. But yeah, if you can, I'd suggest allow 12 months from when you touch base with a builder or a designer. Allow 12 months.
Yeah,
and I think you get a really good outcome.
Yeah, mate, that is awesome tips. Like, I think anyone that takes them on board will definitely go a long way to having a great process. Everything you touched on there is absolutely brilliant. Like, it's just, everyone's under so much pressure these days, and then obviously if they've got to rent somewhere, like, there's a lot of costs involved. Yep. But yeah, if you do take your time and get your head around things more, like, that alleviates a lot of the chopping and changing on site, which obviously then eliminates variations. Building a relationship is the most important thing, I believe. Like the fact that you said that your first meeting's hardly even talking about the job. Like, it's more just getting to know each other. Like, that's unreal.
Yeah. It's just so important. I think it's more important than looking at the house. Like, we know we can build whatever we need to build. Like, that's not important to me at that stage. Before a design, sort of comes about, it's really about the relationship with the client.
Yeah. It's definitely like a dating, isn't it? Like, you're dating I
used to be pretty nervous and fumbly at the start, but you're right. Well, it's first impressions, isn't it?
Yeah, and then like I sort of use that theory a lot now, because you wouldn't, like, so many people keep going back to a bad date because they're so focused on the bottom price.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, it just doesn't make sense.
No, you're right.
And then it's no different to a bad date. Like, you keep going back, it just doesn't get any better. Like, the people's attitude doesn't change. For whatever reason you didn't gel. Like, it's
you're probably not going to save it, if you get that feeling at the start.
Yeah.
It saves a lot of people, and there's no problem in. I'd have no problems if a client just decided, look, we don't think we'll work well together.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't experienced a lot yet, but that's to me, that's saving both of us some heartache.
Yeah.
There's plenty of work out there. There's lots of good builders out there. It's really important. It doesn't matter if you go through meet half a dozen. If the builders appreciate their own time, they're going to appreciate that they're not going to waste time with you.
Yeah. Do you think it's important, like, for tradies and builders and homeowners walking away, like having the confidence, the knowledge, and probably the balls to walk away? Yeah,
well, hindsight's a marvelous thing, isn't it? But yeah, I think you've got to trust your gut. You've got to really just trust your gut on that first experience. And if you feel you've got to walk away, it's going to be the right decision.
Yeah, like for tradies that they might have a client that's trying to screw their price down or talk them into doing something they don't want to do. Like, just walk away.
It's really hard because it depends on the scenario. It's like going shopping when you're hungry. Yeah, if you need work, you're gonna do what you need to do in the work, and that I used to succumb to that heaps when I was earlier on. But
it's amazing. But when you, because we all get in that scenario, but when you make that decision, it actually allows better clients or better builders or better trades to come your way.
It opens another door, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It was something that one of the things that started out us when we first started doing inquiry forms and questionnaires to try and determine if they were just trying to weed out. Well, you're sort of trying to weed out the tie kickers, but you're trying to determine if you feel like they align with your business values and whether you're something you're going to work with.
Yeah.
I've always been a yes man. I've always wanted to do every job.
Mate, we're all the same. I think it's just it's built into us.
So what we done was I never seen a questionnaire until Tanade had read it, and she'd make the decisions because she very not emotionally attached to it. Like she just thought of it as a business decision.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't deal with the clients as often. So that was one thing that we done. We let her Tanade determine whether they were going to be a good fit for us before I even heard about them, or she just.
So she was a gatekeeper.
She was, and that was a game changer. And after a while, I started to see. I do it myself now, but I know so much more about the types of clients we want, the type of jobs that we like doing, the areas. I set them parameters now myself, but I've got a very much more business head focus than I did.
But it does open up other doors. I think for anyone that's listening, like tradies, don't be afraid to walk away from a client and builders that's trying to get you to do something, drop your price, whatever it may be. Don't get in a situation where like you're stuck and you have to take that job on because you need the cash flow or whatever. I know it's a hard decision to make and it's a big call when you might be behind on your monthly bills or you haven't paid, like whatever the situation, but sometimes all it takes is to make that decision and it just opens a world of doors.
Sometimes it takes a lot of weight off your shoulders. Sometimes especially before we were charging for our pack process, that spending a lot of time for free for clients made you feel like you had to do the job because you invested in it.
Yeah.
But once you actually, like you said, once you decide, no, this isn't going to be for me, it's for whatever reason they're not listening there, it's just you're not working well together. You cut that tie and it's just like a weight comes off your shoulders and you can move on to someone who is going to be a better fit for you.
Yeah, and the frustration just keeps building. Like when you do keep investing that time and then it gets to a point where you're not going to make money out of the job, you've underquoted or the client's paying the ass, it just makes you more angry about the job and that leads to poor quality. And
But then you really are stuck though at that stage. Once you've signed the contract and you're doing the job, you are really stuck and you've got to... we've probably all been through them jobs where you just had to tough it out and get it done and move on.
And for homeowners, I think there's a lot of builders out there that just say what needs to be said because they are running a shit show, they're not making money, they need the next job to hit the cash flow, and they're just telling the clients whatever they want to hear. Like, I think for the clients as well, like if your guts is, if you're concerned about anything or something's just not quite right, don't think that it's going to change once you've signed a contract. Like
things escalate once you get on site. That's hits fever pitch. Then it's all happening. That's 100%. That's a great bit of advice. If you need to walk away.
Oh mate, we're kicking some goals here. Like, lots of good stuff here. So I guess I want to come back to you going from wanting to pull out to now. There's a couple of guys there's lots of guys in Live Like Build and Elevate and stuff. There's you and one other guy in particular. Like to see the change in you, like just I guess like emotionally, personally, like in a 3 month period. Like to me, that's why I do all this. Like it's unbelievable. Like I actually come home after our conversation and said to my wife Camille, like, Brett told me he doesn't want to build much anymore. Like he must, and I actually said it because you told me you were going to set up a shed and make custom furniture and shit. And I was like, you must be a fucking good woodworker. Like he's going to throw in the towel and start making furniture.
It's just been a passion. I love woodworking, something I always do as a hobby. But I was just that, like I said a bit earlier, I just felt like it was too hard. But then at the same time, I really couldn't let it go because we'd invested a lot. We've been through a lot of hard times in the early years, and it was bloody stressful on our relationship and our whole life. It becomes all consuming when you own a building company that that your wife is in the building company with you.
Yeah.
So a big part of it was Tanae wanted to get out of it. She had to get out of it. She was really good at it, but we just weren't running a good enough business to even pay a wage.
So what was the point that you got to where because I've been there, I've talked a lot about it. Like, what was the point that you got to where you're like, enough's enough? We're just going to wrap up what we got on. Like, was it financial? Was it the pressure on yourself? Was it pressure like?
The drivers probably were financial, to be honest, because when you're having to ask trades or suppliers just for an extra week to pay their bills, it makes you feel like shit. Like I'm quite honest, but I've earned everything we've never had handouts. We've always been someone who we want to earn our own way and do things properly. When you can't pay for something that you owe, that was really hard for me. I thought, you know what, it's not worth it. It's not worth me. I'm putting stress on other people now and other people's businesses. And
because it takes over, doesn't it? Like it does.
Oh, you think about 24/7.
Yeah.
And you can't have a conversation at dinner table without being work related.
Yeah.
It's pretty toxic, really.
And it's like it's just infectious, isn't it? So you just start this horrible ball rolling, and like I don't know if you got to a point where like no one around really knows what's happening. Like I definitely, like, it was a shock to me when you said it, because I'm like, this bloke's coming to the builders breakfast meetings, like he's nailing it, he's got jobs on, he's got a good team. Like
I've got it, and I reckon not many people would know that I was that way, especially not clients and even our guys. Well, a couple of our guys I would talk. I was pretty open with it because I want them to understand the troubles we're going through as well.
Yeah.
But the financial side of one thing, that's probably the starting stress, but the toll it takes on your family and on your relationship was just not worth it. I just thought it wasn't worth it.
It really changes the person you are, doesn't it? Like it turns you into something that you're ashamed to be. Yeah,
you're not proud of how you're doing things.
Yeah,
and that's not what you set out in to start a business to feel like. You're meant to be kicking goals and pleasing people and doing well for yourself, having that flexibility in your life. Oh, man, I used to work, I don't know, you do 15, 16 hours a day. No worries.
Like probably the biggest kick in the guts for me was just the passion. Like the passion just went. Like I just loved building. I never wanted to be anything else, but just getting to a point where I hated it.
Yeah.
Like I just couldn't think of anything worse. Like I wanted to go to sites in the morning, set my guys up and get away from it as quickly as I could.
Yeah.
Put my head in the sand and just let the work get done.
It wasn't even just that passion for the building that you lose. I lost the passion to do things that I've loved doing. I couldn't be bothered playing golf. I felt if I was playing golf for 5 hours, I should have been spending that working on because we're behind or whatever.
Yeah.
I couldn't relax. I couldn't, and Tanae made it like you don't realise a lot of this stuff yourself until someone brings it to your attention. But it was so thankful for Tanae to say to explain that look, you're starting to change as a person. Like this is starting to change who you are. You're not the happy easy. I'm usually, and like I'm feeling back to myself quite a bit now, but I'm really easygoing sort of guy. I wasn't that when I was just under the pump all the time, and you feel like you're letting everyone down. So but in saying that, we couldn't wrap it up straight away because we had committed to jobs for the next 12 months. So
but you had a plan. Like
I had a list in my phone called the final list.
You did a lot better than me because I got to a point where I was ready to go back after a Christmas holiday and like pull the pin on everything. Like you actually had a plan of how long you're going to wrap up your jobs, you're going to work through it with your boys. You had already thought out the business you were going to go into.
Yeah, I think this actually happened with another bloke in our Elevate group before he started. He was going to wrap it up and he come and talk to me about come and work for us. And I was wrapped because he was going to be really good. And I think it was what happens when you make that decision in your head, something happens and you have this weight come off your shoulder. It's like there's a light at the end of the tunnel and you start thinking clearer. And I started to get this clarity. And this wasn't probably just for this, but I started doing that breath work that we've done up the coast, and that's massive as well. But it's a whole multi-pronged attack. But when you get that clarity of mind again, then passions start coming back. You start to see how you're going to do the things that you need to do in your business.
Yeah.
When it's all just on top of you and the world's on your shoulders, you can't see a way out.
Yeah.
And
you're
it's
just drowning.
just debilitating. Yeah, and like a couple of builders sadly committed suicide this week, and I can 100% relate to how you can get to that position, because you feel so alone and you feel like you're letting everyone down. But once it's massive, just you got to work on yourself, don't you? So once you start working on yourself, and that's like one of the main keys in with the Elevate, the 6Ps is personal. That was the first one I had to work on when I'd done that little exercise. We reviewed it. It was all the personal stuff, like the actual business side of things, and like the leadership and that. I wasn't faring too bad in. It was really needed attention on that personal stuff, and once I'd done that, like I said, I'm up at 4 o'clock every morning, no fail. I got up at 5:30 today, and I felt like I missed half the day. And
but you're not just getting up at 4. Like you're getting up at 4, going to the office and working on the business for a couple of hours.
It just sets you up. It's the right mindset. Yeah, like some people get up and exercise first thing. I feel like at the moment for us, I need to be thinking of the business and
But I'm glad you touched on the breath work and that, because it is. Like I honestly couldn't, if someone had pointed it or said to me what I'd be doing and stuff like 10 years ago, I would have laughed at them.
You'd laugh, yeah.
I just can't believe and just even the way that I'm brought up. Like I definitely did. Like I think a lot of people get caught in this trap and whether it's religion or work ethic or whatever. You're brought up a certain way, and we almost think that that's how we have to continue our journey.
Yeah.
And like
tough it up, suck it up and get on with it.
Yeah, like mate, nobody in my family, or there's a couple of uncles and aunties and stuff that were into it, and like to be honest, we used to call them woo woo. Like they're what are they doing? Like they're bludgers, they're lazy. Like, but it's what you need to do. Like I breathe now. Like we've been to that breathing thing a few times. I put a lot of time into myself. I do my cold showers. I don't listen to any media whatsoever. Like the only sort of stuff I know that's going on is from people telling me. And some people I think that's a bit selfish, but I can control my journey and I control my goals, my family's goals, what my family wants to do, achieve, all those types of things when I'm clear up here. And this isn't getting fogged up by all the shit on the radio, the shit on the news, in the paper, the notifications on your phone.
I challenge anyone who thinks it's the latest shit, this breath work, to try it.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not sure what it was that actually made me just jump in and do it. I think Dean Ward, one of my mates, he was the first one that brought this cool to be conscious one up to me. I'd known about meditation and all that stuff for a while, and I'd tried meditation and I never stuck with it. I didn't really know if I was doing it right. You do guided meditations, all that sort of stuff. But this breath work, mate, it's such a simple thing, and you can do it anywhere. I do it every day, and I generally try and do it in the morning just to sort of set me up. But if you're in a shit day and you have a tough day, just 10 minutes of it completely just clears your mind, and you can think. I've said to you before how I used to have lots of lists and I felt like I had a really bad memory. I don't. After doing this and just getting that clarity of mind, you just remember stuff. You don't have to worry about forgetting stuff.
It's unbelievable how it like even tired. Like I used to tell myself, for some reason I used to always tell myself I was tired, but like doing breath work just makes you feel energized and motivated and clear.
The tingles and the sensations you get through your body, and like especially the first time I done it. It's nearly an out of body experience. It's really weird what goes on.
I think for me, I think the breath work and the cold baths and doing the cold showers, like that's just been a game changer for me. Well, not a life changer. Like it's just made things so much clearer and better. But I think, like even I look back to when I was going through depression and having a hard time and wanting to get out of the industry and things, and if I had spoken about that or asked certain or most of the people I had around me at that time,
you would have been seen as weak.
I would have been seen as weak. I would have been told to fucking harden up. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, get over it. Like I actually remember reaching out to a few older builders over a few year period and basically just been like told to suck it up, mate. That's the industry. Deal with it.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Like, and you only got to go back a couple of years. How long have we been doing the builders brekkies? 2 years.
Nearly 2 years, yeah.
Like before then, you very rarely spoke business or strategy or anything like that with another builder. It just didn't happen.
Yeah.
You might be lucky enough to know a family friend or someone, but yeah, like that just didn't happen. But what happens at the builders brekkies is like, well, sometimes like 12, 14 blokes,
Yeah.
all putting their heads together really, and we're all trying to come up with better ways of doing things, different ways of doing things that work for some of us and not. It's just so valuable. And before I started Live Life Build, I used to look forward to it. And I'd come out of there just pumped, like, and even though I was still not loving it, there was a little bit before I sort of decided to wrap it up. But you come out there just excited, like you're excited for the business side of things after you have them sort of talks.
But even that, it's commitment, isn't it? Like it's, I know it's hard to commit all the time, but like we've had a few guys come and go that, and I think that it is hard, like getting out of that space. And this ties back to, like we said before, getting out of that space where you're on the tools, you're snowed under, you can't do anything.
The guys that are on the tools would find it hard to spare 2 hours of a Thursday, even once a month.
Yeah, but you've got to do it.
It's worth its weight in gold.
You've just got to make a decision, schedule it in, and
like when we were over Wynnum, I was driving nearly an hour for some of them.
Yeah,
it did not bother me at all. Like
I
was there any time I could. The only time I'd fog it off was for concrete. I was always one that I still love being there for concrete pours, but that's even something that I've been able to let go of lately.
Mate,
and body's loving it.
I'm the same. I've only just let go of that. Well, a few, like the more complicated ones, I make sure I'm there. But again, I really appreciate you talking about everything you've spoken about. And I definitely think you'll encourage and help a lot of people that are listening and watching, whether they're homeowners, tradies, or builders, even suppliers and things. I think everyone across our whole industry, like it's not just builders that deal with this stuff. Like it's the clients we work for, it's the tradies that work for us, it's suppliers, and like you just touched on, there's actually been a few local guys that have committed suicide in the last few weeks. So I guess, like the thing is, there's always someone out there to talk to. Hey, like you just got to put your hand up and reach out. And I think like another thing that I've become more open, like even that, like I remember back in the day, like if I had got a phone call from someone saying, "Oh, look, I'm just having a bit of a hard day at the moment, struggling a little bit," like I probably didn't deal with it the right way because I didn't really understand or know or.
The whole mental health thing has never been as well known as it is now. There's some people in all the industries doing some amazing work with it, like trademark guys that are unreal.
Well.
I think there's mates in construction. There's a few others, but it's just we've at Solar Exchange we've been able to do it within our own team, which has been really good. We've got a good mix of young and older guys, and they sort of they seem to help each other out really well. Which is that's just testament to the sort of guys they are, and it's probably why we find it hard. We're trying to find a couple more carpenters at the moment, but we're really focused on having them fit into the team.
So is everyone in Australia.
Yeah, but I'm probably going to be pickier than I used to be because I know how a bad employee, that someone doesn't gel with the team. It's not even worth having there. It's not. You're not winning at all. You're better off doing a little bit less jobs, less work, and doing it with that team that get along really well. Yeah.
So, mate, we'll wrap it up pretty soon. But so where to from here? Like you've in basically 3 months. Like people think I'm bullshitting with this, but basically 3 months you've gone from having a plan to wrap it up, start a woodworking furniture business, to now. Bloody ringing me, texting me, wanting to knock off and play golf.
It's been a big swing around. It didn't take long. The change for me, it was that change. Being able to spend time on your business and understand your business, that was a big change. But our business has gone now from, we had a business loan at the end of last year, about 80 grand, and we've managed to pay that down. We've managed to get ourselves in really position, and we're booked out for nearly 18 months.
Yeah.
in pretty much, well, some of that work was that, we'd started preliminaries and stuff earlier, but yeah, a lot of that happened 3 months, just through my mindset and understanding the business, I can see exactly now how the business needs to operate.
In the last 6 weeks since coming back from the Christmas break, or whatever it's been, 8 weeks, 10 weeks or something, but the change in you in 6 weeks has been incredible, and it's obviously flowing through to your business, because like you saw in 3 prelims last week.
Yeah, in 3 days, yeah, yeah.
So it's just incredible. Like, I think that's important for people listening. Like, it's, if you are at a point where you're over it, you want out, or things aren't working, like it can change quickly if you put in the time and effort.
Yeah, look, I'm happy for anyone to contact me on social media or whatever, and I'm happy to talk about how I went about it. I'm still learning so much, and I've got so much more that I want to implement. I feel like I don't have enough hours in the day. That's why I'm so early. But and I've got my days jam packed. Just really keen and really excited about where our business is going.
Yeah, and you can tell how passionate. Yeah,
I finally got it back. Yeah, this is what it was like when I started.
So when you started building or started your apprenticeship?
Oh, I was always keen when I started apprenticeship. I suppose you're just young and dumb then, though. You just sort of you're trying to learn everything in a couple of years. And you think at the end of your apprenticeship that's it. You don't get to learn anymore. So it was all cram. But no, when I started the business mainly, I'm as excited now as I've ever been. Actually, probably more so.
So do you because mate, this is gold for me. Like, I live for this shit now. Like, to see other builders turning things around, killing it, and getting their passion back, delivering great projects to the clients. Do you think you're at a point now where work's not work?
Yep. Well, you don't get up at 2:30 for work.
Yeah.
No. I'm on site. I was on a site meeting last night, and we ended up. It started at 4:00. I didn't leave it at 6:30. We covered the electrical rough in about 45 minutes. So yeah, it's not. And the clients are really enjoying it. We're getting so much praise about the experience and how they have fun, how enjoyable and stress free it's been. How can't you enjoy that when you've been through the last 5-6 years of really hard grind of a business?
So it is, and the reason I wanted to just wrap it up with this is because I know there's going to be a lot of trades, a lot of builders out there that think that's impossible. Like, they're at a point, and they could have struggled for a year, 10 years, even 20 or 30 years. And they would be listening or watching this going like, that's bullshit. Like, how can you do that? But it happens. Like, you got
to put the work in.
You put in the work, you put in the effort and money. Like,
we have invested a lot of money.
You've got to invest some money. And one thing I think is important to touch on with this before we go is you're not really putting the money into the business. You're putting it into yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Like everyone says, you got to invest in your business. But if you're not good, like this all
starts with us.
This is my big thing now. Like, if you're in a bad way or a bad shape, it does not matter how much money you pump into your business. It is not going to get any better.
No.
And so if you're not good, nothing around you is good. And like, I'm a firm believer now, like, if you're in a good position, everything else just follows.
Yeah.
Like, it all just falls into place.
Yeah. I reckon I've already noticed things happening in our favour.
Yeah.
In the last 2 months really. That's where we put a lot of work in, but in the last month, it's come. That's where all these jobs have just started just lining up, and they're prepared to wait. We've explained the process, why things are going to take as long as they are, and I just feel so comfortable running our business now.
Yeah.
Once you know, there's another builder's coach who, you had this saying, the truth will set you free. And I used to think I hated it when I first heard it. And but because I felt like I had so far to go. But he's 100% right. Once you know the ins and outs of it, and you take responsibility for your own business and how it's running, it's enjoyable.
I think that's a really good one to end on, mate, because, the truth, if you're having a bad situation or you're dealing with the same shit, you're thinking you can't be successful in your business, you've got to, the truth is what will set you free. Like, you've got to own it. You've got to admit that you don't know how to run your business, admit that you're not costing things correctly. Like, and when you own up to that, the weight will come off your shoulders and things can start to happen. So
100%.
Mate, really appreciate you coming to have a chat. For any of you guys, like Brett's happy to have a chat if you want to. Soul Homes, check him out on social media. He's on Instagram, Facebook.
Yep, all the normals.
We'll put the tags and links on the on this video. But if you're out there, you're having our time, don't be afraid to reach out to people. We are all in this together. It's a huge industry. It is a hard industry, but like we've just finished on, and like Brett said, you can turn things around as like very, very quickly and get things going again. So hope everyone's got some value out of this. Look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Level Up. Take it easy. Everything discussed during the Level Up podcast with me, Dwayne Pearce, is based solely on my own personal experiences and those experiences of my guests. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. We recommend that you obtain your own professional advice in respect to the topics discussed during this podcast.